How I became a psychic medium overnight, part one. Buckle up. My name is Steph, and I'm the medium in the middle, and I share my entire journey into mediumship on my podcast, the Medium in the Middle podcast. If you start at episode 1, it shares my journey from the first time. I started this podcast 6 years ago, and I'm finally being brave and bringing it to TikTok. I had one video go viral, so I now need to roll with it. It is time. Let's begin at the very beginning. I was working at Lululemon. I was a normal person. I coached CrossFit on the side, and I was interested in the word Reiki. I didn't know what it meant, and there was this girl that came into Lululemon, and she was a Reiki master, and I was like, what's a Reiki master? That's so cool. So one day I started Googling Reiki courses, and I found a Reiki course, and I took a Reiki course. And my joke is I showed up, and I said I didn't know what we were doing. We could have been making noodles. I was like, I want to be a Reiki master. So I'm there in my little course, and I didn't know what we were doing, and I learned. And then I just started practicing. I just practiced on everyone, and I always like to tell my students, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, so anyway, so I was just practicing. And then I just started to know things in my practice sessions, and people were like, how do you know that? How do you know that? And I was like, I don't know. So then I took a level 2 course, and when I went to my level 2 course, I had like all of this information that I wanted to bring her to be like, I have a lot of questions for my Reiki master. And she pretty much said, that's not Reiki, that's something else. Like, I can help you with Reiki, but I can't necessarily help you in this direction. And I was like, okay, well, like, how do I know these things? Am I going crazy? What's going on? Like, it was all just like very random. I would know names. I would know how many siblings you had. I would know the name of your uncle. Like, just weird, random, insignificant things. Like, they were just completely random and they didn't seem to make sense. So, up until this point, I didn't really know what was going on. I still thought it was just Reiki. I was just practicing, and if anyone asked me a question, I was like, that's Reiki, that's Reiki. And then when I told my Reiki master, she's like, that's not Reiki. And I was like, oh. So then after my level 2, things really started to amp up. And that's when I actually had my first spirit encounter. So before this, it was just like names. You have an uncle that's passed. You have 2 brothers. You have an older brother and a younger brother. You just kind of like random things about people. You're a teacher. Like, I don't know. Then there was the first time. Well, this is episode 1 of the Medium in the Middle podcast. If you want the long version, go listen to the podcast. I'm going to give you the short version of the story. So, short version of the story. I took level 1, weird things started happening. I took level 2, more weird things started happening. Then I signed up for a crystal healing class with my same Reiki master. So we were learning about crystals. And it was the next day. So I was going to bed, and I was engaged at the time. I'm not engaged anymore. I went through a whole Saturn return crisis, became a medium, left my fiance, moved across the country. That'll come in the story. So I was sleeping beside my ex-fiance. His name is Joe in the podcast, so we'll call him Joe here. So I started to see this man in my head, and I thought it was Joe's grandpa because he looked like this Italian guy. And Joe's grandpa died before he was even born. So I was like asking him about what his grandpa looked like and if he ever wore a hat and if he wore this plaid shirt and if he had a mustache. And he was like, what are you talking about? Go to bed. And I was like, no, there's this guy. And he was telling me all these things. He was moving glass window planes. He was with this other guy. They were laughing at me and I didn't know what was happening. And he was like, what are you talking about, Steph? So anyways, his brother was going to Italy the next day, and they thought maybe their grandpa were trying to send them a sign that they should find a photo of him wearing a brown hat and they should take it with him to Italy. So I woke up the next day to a picture from his brother of their grandpa in a brown hat. And I was like, that's not the man that I saw. But anyways, I went to this crystal healing class. And now I had a lot of questions for my Reiki master. And I said, hey, listen, last night I had this dream and I saw this man and it was really weird. And I like had all these details about what his looked like and his hat and his hair and his mustache and his shirt. And you need to help me. And she was like, we should pull cards. I've never pulled a card before. Like, I cannot stress how normal of a person I was. I was not woo-woo. I was not spiritual. I was not into intuition. Nothing. I was just like, Reiki, woo. So she's like, we should pull cards. And I was like, okay, we pull the cards. Let's go. So she's, this man is from the past. Yeah. Pull more cards. This man is connected to your partner. I'm like, got that part down too. We need more cards. This man was a worker, like a worker bee, like he was a hard worker or something. And I was like, what else you got? She was like, That's all the cards say. And I was like, well, I already knew all of that stuff. That's not helpful. So then I was like, okay, well, that wasn't helpful. So then I'm leaving the crystal class and I'm driving home. And I call Joe and I say, Joe, meet me at your mother's house. There's a box there. What did I say? I said, Joe, meet me at your mother's house. There's a shoe box at her house full of photos. And the man that I saw in my dream is in a shoe box at your mother's house. He's like, Steph, what are you talking about? And I was like, meet me at your mother's house. He was like, she's not home. I was like, we have a key. See you there. So I drive right to his mother's house and Joe's waiting there. And then we went in. And turns out the day before, they were at his mother's house going through photos because it was the anniversary of like something and they were looking for old photos. And I didn't know this. And he was like, how did you know that we had like, there were shoe boxes everywhere at the mom's house, like all laid out already. He's like, how did you know that these shoe boxes were here? Like, you didn't know what I was doing last night. I didn't tell you that we were doing this. Like, what's going on? And I was like, don't ask questions. Start opening shoe boxes. We're looking for a man in a plaid shirt with a mustache and this type of hat and na. So we're opening shoe boxes and we're just going through photos. And then, is it this guy? No. Is it this guy? No. Is it this guy? No. And then finally, we find the photo. And, I should insert the photo here. Should I? No, because I don't know if that's private information. So finally we find the photo and I was like, that's him. Like, that's the guy I saw in my mind. That's the guy that was moving the glass window planes. That's him. Who is that? And he was like, I don't know who this is. So he had to text a photo of the photo to his mom to be like, who is this? So while we were waiting, we just like went home. So I like took the photo. I was like, this is the guy in my dream. And we went home. So what I saw in my dream was this guy from the photo. He was moving glass window planes, and I'm pretty sure he was passing them to Joe's grandpa because I can't see him. He was like turned behind. And they were like fixing a window. And they were laughing at me. Ha ha ha. That's what he said in my head. Ha ha ha. I still remember. And he was like, no, my grandpa used to move. What's the word? Sod. He used to move sod, not grass. Grass, not glass. And I was like, I know the difference between glass and grass. He's moving a glass window plane. He's moving glass windows. He's not moving grass. I know the difference between glass and grass. Cue Archie wanting to be the star of the show. Bubs. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. My grandpa moved grass, not glass. We now have this photo. Put it to bed. So that's what we'll leave part 1. I am committed to releasing 1 part a day because, again, I have 300 episodes. This is a long story. We're starting from 8 years ago, but part 1, if you want to hear more, go listen to episode 1 the first time, or if you don't want to wait for me to make videos, the podcast episodes are already up. The Medium in the Middle podcast can be found anywhere you listen. Let's enjoy the ride.